Hey there, I am Christy Ruffino, former broke single mom turned CEO of 2 six-figure businesses and best-selling author with 15 books. But it wasn't always like this. Not long ago, I was a hot mess. Yes, I did a lot of things right, but mostly I was throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what would stick. Fast forward past many failed attempts and a few incredible victories, I not only get to share what I've learned along the way, I get to bring together top influencers as they share their empowering stories, insider secrets, and valuable resources that can be used right now to step into your power. So, if you're an ambitious entrepreneur, or possibly one in the making, and you're looking to create a business and life that lights you up, well, then you're in the right place. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Mastery Unleashed podcast. This is Christy Ruffino, the host of the show, and I want to encourage you to listen in today, because if you've ever wanted to know the difference between marketing, advertising, PR, and publicity, then all of your answers are going to be solved today. Everyone is completely different. Everyone has their own benefit, their own challenges, but our guest today is going to explain all about publicity. He's going to share some strategies that he's used with his clients to get seen and heard and get their message to stand out in their ideal audiences. And he's going to share some resources that you can use in your business right now. So, my guest, Dr. Richard Kaye, is best known for working with entrepreneurs to help them accelerate the growth of their businesses. He does this today by ensuring they get profitable, powerful publicity. For nearly 24 years, he's assisted people to improve their bottom line. And he has done it for himself. I'm looking at all of the different places that he's been seen. Forbes Magazine, PBS. Oh gosh, the list just goes on and on. Plus, he's shared stages with some very well-known people like Lisa Nichols, Mark Victor Hansen, Michael Beckwith, Sharon Lechter. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. So he knows his stuff. So I'm not going to keep boring you with his credentials, because I will tell you, his actions are going to speak louder than any words I could ever give you. So listen in and you'll be able to learn how you can become profitable and powerful all through publicity. All right. Well, I'm really excited about today's show. I hope you are too. I know this guest has a very long list of credentials, and the topic that we're going to be talking about today is going to be relevant to all business owners. So I want to introduce you to Dr. Richard Kaye, and I most importantly want to welcome you, Richard, for being on the show today.
Well, it's my fun, my joy, my pleasure to be here, Christy.
We're going to talk about publicity, and we're going to dive into a lot of distinctions between PR, advertising, and publicity. And you're going to share some amazing tips that our audience can use right now in their business. But before we do that, I want to hear your story. I want to know how you got into this field of work.
Well, I laugh. When I graduated chiropractic college in New York, and I drove to San Diego. And for those of you in the audience who are old enough to remember, it was an MGB, which was a 4-cylinder convertible. You took the roof off, drove that 3,000 miles out to San Diego to begin a practice. I realized, Christy, I was one of 300 chiropractors. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever tried to start a business in a crowded field or grow a business in a crowded field? Well, how the heck do you do that? I'll give you some things that I did, and later on we're going to talk about how you can do these things too. I got myself on a morning television talk show. That gets you credibility. I turned that into a 1-year role on that every month. I was on Sun Up San Diego with Jerry G. Bishop. I remember that program. My first real exposure to being on camera. Then I got myself an article in the San Diego Tribune. That was the newspaper. Then I got an article in the Los Angeles Times. That's a significant newspaper. And you get the picture that I'm not just another one of those other doctors in town now. I got a phone call from the producer of the 6:30 News. And she said, "Who are you? We're seeing your name around. We're hearing about you." Well, now I had a 6:30 News segment about me. That's pretty freaking cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Then, Christy, but wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more. Oh, I can't wait.
I got a phone call from a PBS producer. Almost the same language. "Who are you? We're seeing and hearing about you." Well, now I had a PBS special about me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you stand out from the crowd. And I'll give you an idea how long ago it was. I was handing practice members VHS tapes to give to their friends.
Oh, you know what? The younger crowd probably doesn't even know what that is. VHS.
Yeah.
Like almost as bad as beta.
Yeah, right. So that's how you get to be distinguished and stand out from the crowd instead of being just like everybody else. They're talking about you. At the time, I was possibly one of the most highly recognizable doctors in the name in San Diego. That's what you're going to learn how to do today.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you have not only learned these skills and strategies with your business, but I know you've helped quite a few people throughout the years now because your business has shifted. You're not a chiropractor practicing anymore, are you?
Well, it's interesting. Within a year after the PBS show, I just shut my practice. I was meditating. It was a download. Shut it. Work with entrepreneurs. So from San Diego, I already owned 80 acres. I now live in Taos, New Mexico, Christy, and within 3 weeks, I shut my practice, moved everything out. And for over 2 decades, I've been serving entrepreneurs. Yes, so yes, I'm not a chiropractor. Well, I am. I just don't practice.
You don't practice anymore.
Right.
You have shifted and you have used your gifts in PR to help other people stand out from the crowd. And I think that's amazing because it's the hardest thing as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, is to rise above the noise. And if we have the right kind of tactics to become distinguished, to become well-known, to have people call us and say, "Who are you? What's going on?" Yeah, right. We all need that.
And Christy, I want to make a distinction, and you spoke about it in the intro, and there's a huge distinction between PR or public relations and publicity. What we do with the top talent agency, and the website's toptagency.com, is we guarantee publicity. And a 50,000-foot view, PR, is sending out press releases, making phone calls, contacting people you know, and then praying to God someone says, "I like what I'm reading. I like what I'm hearing. Let's see if we can have someone on." And the difference, well, and let's talk about advertising. What's advertising is paying for space. If you live in a crowded city, well, a couple of months ago, my wife and I were at a conference, actually two, one in LA, one in San Diego. And right outside the hotel are these 30 or 40-foot huge LED signs with people on them. That's advertising. You listen to the radio, you listen to the news. I don't know why you'd want to listen to the news, but you hear commercials, and that's paid advertising. The distinction between what we do at Top Talent Agency and Publicity is we guarantee results. We guarantee people articles in particularly the Los Angeles Tribune, USA Today, we guarantee that we'll get them a best-selling book in multiple categories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. Before my wife and I met, she had spent over $200,000 trying to get her books out into the marketplace. She became a client, then we got married, things like that. And her book is now #1 in multiple categories. We have endorsements on her book. And I'm going to do a sidebar here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that you've heard the expression, and Christy, you've heard this. It's not what you know, but who you know.
Who you know.
Yeah, nonsense. It's who knows you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, politics aside, I know the president of the United States. He hasn't a clue who I am. It's who knows you and how you can leverage and turn those connections into money, quite frankly.
Perfect. So that is a great place to stop. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And I love that we already dived in to explain the differences between PR and advertising and publicity. But if you don't mind, we're going to put a pin in this and we're going to come back and we're going to actually dive into some of these publicity strategies. Is that okay, Richard? Dr. Richard?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Hang tight, everybody. We'll be right back. And you don't want to go away because you're going to learn some amazing things coming right up. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Christy and Dr. Richard Kaye, and I'm really excited to now be able to dive into some of these publicity strategies because I know you talked about, articles and best-selling book, and I know for me and my clients in the books that we produce, we've had the fortune of some of our authors becoming, on being on Inc. magazine, and we did a WGN radio, and we did a TV segment. But it wasn't a consistent thing. So not all of our authors had those benefits. And so I know working with you, you guarantee those results. But for the average person that maybe just wants to start diving into this a little bit on their own, what can you recommend that we can do to start getting some of this publicity?
It depends on where you want to go, ladies and gentlemen. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about books, because that's what you spoke about, Christy. There are basically 3 kinds of publishers. There's the big houses, Random, Putnam. And ladies and gentlemen, if they pick you up, they're going to ask in one way or another, what's your marketing budget? They don't market books. Publish is a fancy word for print. Mm-hmm. So they, again, if they pick you up, they'll publish you. You get bragging rights. Hey, I'm published by Putnam. And you could still, a couple of years ago, there were 300 to 400 books released every month. Today, there are 3,000 to 4,000 books released every week, I would say. Day.
Every day. Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So how do you stand out from the crowd? Goes back what I learned when I started a chiropractic practice. So, and so we got the big houses. Then there's people, ladies and gentlemen, Christy, like you and me. We can write a book, hope that it's laid out, hope that it's spelled properly, hope that it's a respectable cover, and publish it. And still, your mother may read it if you're lucky. That's it. Then there's people like you, Christy, and me in our business. We're in the middle. We're not the most and we're not the least expensive. We do the editing, the format, the split testing on covers. And editing is more than punctuation and grammar and spelling. It's where does this chapter belong? Where does this sentence go? Cover design is so vitally important. Christy, when you go into a bookstore, why do you pick up a book? It's the cover.
The cover, right? Yeah.
It doesn't mean you'll buy it, but at least that's why you pick it up.
Yeah.
So we split test in our audience, and then during our programs, we invite people to go buy one of our clients' books. That's how it gets to be number one, and it's in multiple categories. So how can you do this on your own? I mean, the odds of you getting a best-selling book on your own are not really high. You need someone to work with you who understands the market, who has the connections. But let's expand this. How do you get publicity on your own? Doesn't make a difference. Christy, you and I met on a particular networking program, and quite frankly, I don't remember which one of us reached out to the other. And it's not, I mean, I was really clear with you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not about Christy and me. This is about you. Don't take this personally. No one cares what you do. Absolutely no one cares what you do. Just as you,
They care about what you can do for them.
Exactly. They care. What are they going to get out of it?
Right. Yeah. I've been helping women share their stories for 10 years. And, I say in my training every time, nobody cares about your story. They care about how your story relates to their story. And the same thing with, if you have a book, it's all about how that book can help them.
Exactly. So, and I had one woman push back, well, people do care about what I do. I said, okay, you're welcome to your perspective. I'm not here to change your mind. How are your book sales? How are your workshops attended?
Right. Somebody explained it to me, like, it's what is your favorite radio station? WIIFM. What's in it for me? It's the bottom line. We all revolve around our own universe, right?
Yes. As long as you don't vomit it all over everyone else, you're cool.
Yes, exactly.
So when I spoke to Christy, my questions revolved around who's your audience and how may I serve them? What do they want? Not what do I know? You don't care. It's when you get on an airplane, you remember those days, getting back to that these days, you don't care what the engines are, whether Rolls-Royce, Briggs & Stratton. You don't care where the pilot got her training. All you want to know is that aircraft going to deliver me to the airport.
To my destination,
My destination.
Yeah.
So let's talk about pitching, because that's what you want to do. How do you pitch? Listen to the program. And this applies to webinars, podcasts, teleseminars, radio, television, live stages. Find out who the audience is, what the audience is made of. My wife's audience is different than mine. She writes fairy tales to help kids develop emotional intelligence. I can't speak to that audience. She can almost speak to entrepreneurs. It's just not her niche. So find out what the audience wants. Listen. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that's so good, because I've been doing this podcast for about 2.5 years now. And I've had, most of my guests are people that I know, people that I've met like you, and I've had a conversation, and I know that they're just here to serve, but I've had agencies pitch me people to be on my show. And once in a while I'll say yes. And it seems like every time I do that, they get on the show and all they do is talk about themselves and they deliver no value. And I think the only reason why I'm bringing this up is if somebody's listening and they want to be on podcasts and they want to get some of these, publicity stages, make sure you go about it in the right way, where you are wanting to serve your audience, that you're wanting to deliver value, and you really there with a servant's heart.
I love the way you said that. You see, if I'm going to use me as an example here, if I'm here talking about how great, wonderful I am, I don't need that. My wife will tell you, but it doesn't serve your audience.
No.
And it's a fairly small world. Word gets out. This guy sucks. All he does is talk about himself.
Yeah.
Talk about how you can serve people. So let's continue down that path. Now that you listen to the show, write a proposal. And it doesn't mean a 40-page proposal. Later on, you're going to have access to what's called a one sheet. It says, tell people why they want to listen to you. So I'm not sure if I sent it to you, Christy. I don't know where I was in the stage of developing it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get an opportunity to see it later. It's a one sheet that you can send out with anything else you want and say, hey, here's why people listen to me. I've got this experience. I've been on these live. I've won these awards. I did this. I've done that. And I say, well, wait a minute. Isn't that dichotomous? You just said don't talk about yourself. This is not saying what I do. This is saying where I've been. It's my history. It's my track record.
Mm-hmm. It's
The
your
other
credentials. Your
yeah,
credentials, so that person knows that you are equipped to serve their audience.
yes. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you get a free sample of it later. And people say, well, what if I don't have awards? What if I haven't been on television? What if I didn't have a PBS special about me? You start with what you've got. If you've got 2 or 3 items, highlight them. And if you don't have those, one of the things you get when you work with us is learning how to pitch. Now, not to pitch, I'm going to show you how to close the audience and suck every freaking dollar. That's not what we're about. And there are too many people out in the world who do that. We are about attracting and enrolling people. You learn how to speak the language of your audience through your filter so that people are attracted and want to get involved and want to know more about what you have to offer them. And I go back to, well, what if you're just starting out? Go to a Rotary, go to a Kiwanis. They are thirsty for speakers. They meet every single week.
So true.
Yeah, go to a local organization and have someone come along and film. And you say, hey, I don't know anyone who can do that. Go to university. They've got a film school. They'll take pictures of you. Create something that is visually appealing, and you'll see it. You'll have access to it later on. And someone says, she's the real deal. And when you're in, I'm laughing because before I knew any better, I used to talk about how great I was. And when I used to do my called patient orientation lectures in chiropractic, and then I was awakened and started talking about what people are going to get out of it instead of what I can do. Again, no one cares your credentials. I had a lady come into me, and in essence, a short conversation, she said, what are your credentials? And I said, lady, I mean, it was very loving and very nice. I said, if I have all the credentials in the world and I can't help you, does it matter? She said, I guess not. I said, and I have no credentials and I help you, does it matter? She said, I guess not. I said, sit down, let's have a consultation. Now, that doesn't speak to the pilot. You want to make sure the pilot's credential on your aircraft.
Yes, we don't want to crash.
Yeah. And there's a very dear friend of mine. People ask him his credentials. He says, after my name, I have EIEIO.
Oh, I love that.
And Joel Bauer has trained, I mean, he's trained everyone, Tony Robbins, Robert Allen, Mark, he's trained them all. He doesn't have credentials. It's not the credentials that people are interested in. We go back to WIIFM. Yes. What are they going to get out of it? And that's what you want to speak to. Yeah. So go to your local meetings, volunteer, speak up, and speak to the solution.
Very good. Very good. What about articles? I know that you mentioned that earlier. How do we get articles in some of these prestigious media outlets?
The facetious answer is submit them.
Okay. All right. Just go and be relentless, right?
All right. So, for example, how do we guarantee articles in Los Angeles Tribune? Well, they're clients of ours.
Yeah, you have the connections. Exactly.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just wrote a proposal for a young lady who would like us to get her publicity for what she does. And I said, we'll guarantee you articles in Los Angeles Tribune, Los Angeles Tribune Magazine, and USA Today. No, I'm not going to imply that USA Today is a client. However, one of the guys who works there used to work for us. Oh. So again, it's who you know.
Right.
We get people on NASDAQ television show because of the connections. And Bloomberg and friends, we get them out there. When you submit an article, and we take articles from our clients, and we have to educate them. When you're writing an article for a magazine or a newspaper, it's got to be newsworthy.
Right.
It's not again, it goes not I do this, I do this, I do this. It's newsworthy for the audience, especially when you're dealing with perhaps the oldest newspaper in the country, the Los Angeles Tribune. Mm-hmm. And to show you how little it is a puff piece, the resume you write's 120 words. So it's not, hey, here's who I am. But now, what does that do for your credibility?
Oh, hey, yeah.
My wife is a wonderful example. She had written so many articles. They reached out to her and said, hey, how'd you like to be a columnist? Now, what does that do for her credentials when she's out teaching? I'm a columnist for the Los Angeles Tribune. I got an article in USA Today. I've been interviewed, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now for Authority Magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, the way you get started is to take that stinking first step. It may be scary. Many of you know the classic stories of Colonel Sanders, who got turned down God knows how many times, and Mark and Jack with Chicken Soup for the Soul. They started their own empire, and they sold it, by the way, after making multi-millions of dollars. They sold it for $68 million.
Wow.
They started on their own because everyone else turned them down. Where are you in your passion to deliver your message to humanity? If you are committed, it takes more than the commitment. You got to do the action steps. You got to take action to let the world know what your gifts are. And Christy, people often ask me, who's your ideal client? I'll tell you who it's not. Unless you want to save that for after a break.
No, that's good.
Okay. When I interview people, some of you have heard of an organization named IBI, Income Builders International, or CEO Space. The founder died just 3 years ago in 3 days, actually. So I've been interviewing entrepreneurs forever. It's over 20 years. And I asked someone, what's your long-term goal? Oh, I just want to drink a margarita and lie on the beach in Tahiti. I said, great. It's not a client I'm interested in. Nothing wrong with lying on the beach. If you do that while serving, take your vacations. When someone says, I have this wonderful, like my wife, I'm out to help kids prevent killing other kids. I mean, why do kids go out and kill people? Because they don't love themselves. And her whole mission is, she used to cry, no one's buying my books. Now she's enjoyed because people are buying her books and taking her programs. Her mission is saving lives. This is just a sidebar into, her philosophy and mine. No one is born prejudiced. We pick it up from our parents, our priests, our rabbis, our ministers, people who we don't even remember and probably didn't like back then. And that's where our culture is, and that's what her work does. That's a mission, that's a passion. So the clients we choose to work with, Christy, are people who want to go out. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what you do, if you're delivering a valuable product or service, is to help people improve the quality of their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all it is. And through your vehicle, whatever it is, it's to help people improve the quality of their lives so they can go out and help people improve the quality of other lives.
So good. You mentioned gift a little bit ago about the gift to humanity. And I'm really grateful that you shared that you're going to be sharing your template. You want to talk a little bit about that, and then you also mentioned the one sheet, so we'll have to make sure we get the links for both of those items that you can share with our audience.
Okay, that is indeed a one sheet.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, it's an 8.5 by 11. It's very complex, and it's got, ladies and gentlemen, download it. You'll see it. It's got graphics. It's got, in my situation, 10 short statements. I've been in this space for over 2 decades. I probably could have written 100 reasons. It's overwhelmed. 10 is a nice number. David Letterman had his top 10. Johnny, they're top 10. So I elected on 10 reasons. And when you see it, use it as a template. And I'll tell you unabashedly, if you want, we can design one for you. if you know, if you can use Canva or InDesign or something, do it yourself.
Okay, so it is top 10 reasons people are going to listen to you free one sheet template. Is that?
That's exactly what it is.
Perfect, perfect. And we have the link that will be in the show notes. And I didn't fill it out yet. I'm going to, but I kind of looked at the page, the landing page, and it looks pretty cool. So I'm excited to see how that all comes together for me in my business. But I really appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on our show today.
Thank you. It's always fun. It's always fun to serve with humanity.
Yes.
You know, since I retired, I fill my time with serving people. It's just different than in the chiropractic office, but still in service.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so good. And it's so fulfilling. So
yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. If you learned anything today, please share it with somebody you know. Also, feel free to share the template. We're going to put it in our gift vault, and I'm not sure how long it will be available, but we'll keep it in there as long as Dr. Richard lets us. And so not only will the people listening today be able to get that, and anybody listening today, when they go to the gift vault, you'll get a bunch of other amazing resources. But in addition, anybody that listens to our show going forward will be able to also get this great tool. So thank you. And I also want to encourage anybody that's listening, if you like our show, please make sure you give us some love. Go to whatever platform you listen, give us a rating, give us an honest review, because the more support that we get from our fans, the better chances we have to attract and bring in high quality content sharers like Dr. Richard here. So thanks, everybody. And again, thanks, Dr. Richard.
Thanks, Christy.
Thanks for listening to the Mastery Unleashed podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams by turning their mess into their greatest message and following their purpose to help the people who need their newfound wisdom and resources. To learn more, visit masteryunleashedpodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review to this show.